Okay, so in this tutorial, we're going to be going through RTIP 001, reading multiple files. If you don't have this set up, make sure you check out the setup video. It's the first video in the playlist, and make sure that you have your project all set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into here inside of the reading multiple files, and I'm going to open up the script. So what we're going to be doing here is checking out this tip here, which is for reading multiple files. We're first going to use a for loop, and then we're also going to showcase the map function. I'm going to open up my outline over here. So you got a for loop and we got purrr map. So the idea here is that you have multiple files. They're located in a folder called data. So if I check it out, I've got this a bunch of different data sets. They look something like this. If I click the first one, view the file, it looks something like this, where I've got some data stored as a CSV file. Okay, so we've got a bunch of these and we want to read all of these in. So what we're going to do is we're first going to load in a library. It's called the tidyverse. So if you don't have that installed, you'll just need to install that. And then we're going to also use the FS package, which stands for file system. So I'm going to control enter and send that to the console. So now we have the tidyverse library and the FS package loaded. Next, I'm going to read in some file paths. So I'll first just run this function. It's called dir_ls from the FS package. And what that does is it looks in this folder, which is located at rtips 001 read multiple files /data. And what it's doing is it's looking from my top level directory, which is where I've got my rtips project. And it's looking inside of this first folder, rtips 001, which is this first tip. And then it's looking in the data folder, and it's finding all of these CSV files and locating the path for them. So I'm going to save that as file paths, and now that's saved up here. The first thing we're going to do is we want to read all of the contents of these file paths. So this is just a text string, and what we want to do is we want to use this text string to locate each of these files, open them up, and then read the data in. So I'm first going to create a list in the for loop section. This creates just an empty list, and then what I'm doing here is I'm writing a for loop. So I'm saying for I in sequence along file paths. So sequence along file paths is just a sequence that's the length of the file paths. So I is going to increment 1, 2, 3 all the way up to 15. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say file contents, which is my list, and I'm going to add a new element in that list using the double bracket notation. And then I'm going to assign, and I'm going to use the read CSV function, which just reads a file, and I'm going to pass it the path. So the first argument of read CSV is file, and you just give it a file path. So file path 1 would be, if I do double brackets 1 here, control enter, is just going to be that first file. When that increments to 2, it's going to be the second one, and so on. So when I do this, hit control and enter, and it reads them all in. And now if I check out my file contents, I can click this. I now see that file contents has 15 different elements, and it's got the data for each of these different files that have now been loaded in. So cool, that's how you read in multiple files. We'll also, so that the file contents, if I display that to the screen, hit control and enter, you see that they're all inside of a list. I may want to name each of these elements by the file path. So you can use the set names function. And what this does is it now gives each of these components a name. So if I run this line here, I'm going to highlight it, hit control and enter. And now if I check out file contents again, the list now has a name for each of the file paths. So this is the first one, which is Audi.csv. I've got that loaded in. The second one is Chevrolet CSV, and now it's got a named list. So that's how you would do a loop in R to read in the multiple files. Next, we can make this actually much simpler by using this function from purrr called map, which what it does is it takes a vector or a list. So in this case, we have just a vector of paths, and we pipe it into this map function. And what happens is each one of these elements, so it's going to be the first path, will go to this function, and I'm just calling it read CSV inside of that path. So this actually accomplishes the same thing in much less code. And you can see already each of these elements are now named, and it's got the data in here, all 15 files. So cool. Now you've learned not only one, but two ways, one using a for loop and two using per map, how to read in multiple CSV files that might be located in data. If you like this video, don't forget to sign up for the Tuesday free R Tips newsletter. You can just click this link here and it'll send you here. Put your email address in, and every Tuesday you'll get these videos, you'll get the code, and you'll get the tutorial right in your inbox.